Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Okay, Pete, we're back. We're talking about Moon Knight. Please give our listeners a summary of what they may have missed in episodes 1 and 2.
Okay, so episode 1 of Moon Knight, the pilot for Marvel's latest superhero series, introduces us to Stephen Grant, a man who seems to have some kind of disorder with sleep, some kind of OCD potentially. We don't know much. Throughout the course of the episode, we learn that he potentially has some kind of multiple personality disorder, but we're not 100% sure until he wakes up in the middle of what appears to be a heist, and he steals an artifact, or at least his alter ego steals an artifact, and they go through a daring mountain escape. At the end of the episode, we learn more that Stephen does in fact have an alter ego. His name is Mark Spector, and we finally get to see Moon Knight, the superhero, for the first time.
So we've got Stephen Grant, Mark Spector, and Moon Knight, all the same person.
Exactly.
A lot of names to keep straight.
And in the second episode, we learn more not just about Mark Spector, but we also learn about the characters around him and his objective. We meet Layla, who we find out is Mark's wife. And we also learn more about Arthur Harrow, who is set out as the potential antagonist to the series.
Played by Ethan Hawke. Yeah.
And we meet him in the first episode, but we learn more about what his goals are. He believes in some kind of pre-crime, Minority Report style justice. Stephen has a fight with Mark over controlling his own body. But by the end of the episode, even though he's able to take control, he ends up giving control to Mark. Mark decides to keep control because he has a mission to complete. And that mission takes him, at the end of the episode, to Egypt.
Poor Stephen. Battling for his own body with Mark Spector.
That's right.
Finding out that he's got a wife and he's got his protagonist, or his antagonist, in Ethan Hawke's Arthur Harrow.
And now, on to the full episode with our recap and review.
Hey, Pete. How are you today?
I'm well, Ethan. How are you?
Everything is great. Tell our listeners, what is the topic of the day?
So the topic of the day, I'm quite intrigued and excited about it. It's Moon Knight.
I've watched both episodes so far. I'm looking forward to episode number 3, but for my benefit, and maybe the benefit for some of our readers, can you tell me who this dude is? Where did Moon Knight come from?
Okay, so Moon Knight for me is very interesting. It's interesting because I never read the comics growing up.
Okay.
So I knew of the character, but I didn't really know anything about him, right? And the only thing I ever really knew was that Moon Knight was Marvel's answer, or, not answer or response, but Marvel's version of Batman.
Really?
Yeah. And you're absolutely right to be questioning of that. But that's the Moon Knight that I had always heard of, was that he was supposed to be Marvel's version of Batman, because his comic book origin is slightly different, but not very different from his TV show origin.
Where is, just so I can understand in time, so we're talking about Marvel Cinematic Universe. Moon Knight was historically a comic book character. Like, yes. Was he one of the first comic book characters? Was he right after Batman, or when Batman became famous? Like, what year?
So
do you have any?
I think Moon Knight came out in the 70s.
Okay.
So Batman has been out longer than that.
And we've never heard from him until now?
Yeah, but that's because, Moon Knight is like... depending on how Oscar Isaac does, what he does with him, but I actually think that Moon Knight was the equivalent of like a C-tier character, right? Okay. Not an X-Men, not an Avenger.
Yeah.
And remember, by the way, before Robert Downey Jr. made Iron Man cool, even Iron Man was like a B tier character in the Marvel universe, right?
Yeah.
It's only because of Robert Downey Jr. that he is as good or he is as highly regarded as he is now. But in terms of the comics, I mean, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, all these guys were very, very B tier. The A tier has always been X-Men, has always been Spider-Man.
Yep.
Exactly. Right? So all these guys kind of dominated the comic book series. Moon Knight came out, from what I understand, in the 70s, the comic did. What's interesting, and the reason I'm really looking forward to the MCU version, is that I know nothing historically accurate about Moon Knight from my own personal experiences. I've read a little bit on Wikipedia. So I get to see... Moon Knight's going to be one of the first few characters that I get to experience for the first time as a Marvel fan.
So why do you think they chose Moon Knight to have a series now? Like, what do you think is so compelling about him versus some of the other characters that they've got and they haven't really used yet? Is it the name?
I think one of
the lore?
one of the things is a little bit of the lore.
Yeah.
The other thing is that other than Thor, we haven't really seen many characters who are gods or who are, maybe in that pantheon or related to that pantheon.
That makes sense.
Right? Most of these superheroes we've seen are either mutants or they're wizards or sorcerers, which is to say that they use magic, or that they are, super geniuses who have somehow enhanced themselves, right? You don't see any characters that are just naturally like godlike, other than Thor, of course, right? And with Moon Knight, you get a chance to explore
mythology,
the mythology behind that religion, right? With with Egyptian mythology, right? And Egyptian religion,
Khonshu,
right? Which is interesting to me. You don't necessarily see much of that. You see a little bit more of that in the DC side than you do on the Marvel side. And so I think that's maybe one reason they've done it. And the second reason is also maybe, hey, listen, we have a bunch of these characters that are C-tier characters, are D-tier characters that nobody's ever either heard of or knows about. How do we make a comic book franchise that is not well known for cheap and potentially make it $1 billion franchise like Iron Man, right?
So what do you think of Oscar Isaac as the casting in this role?
I think it's really interesting. When I first saw the trailer and you heard his British accent, I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
Right? I thought it was really silly. I thought it was unnecessary. But having said that, I kind of like it because you get to see. So the story is that you have one man, right, who Mark Spector or the British guy's name, Mark Spector.
Stephen.
Stevens.
With a V.
Grant.
With a V.
Grant. Yes.
With a V.
That's right. So what's interesting is you get to see a character, first of all, who's got some kind of potentially disorder, right? Where you get to see like multiple personality disorder of some kind. So there's some kind of, and I'm not saying he's mentally ill, or that this is not that, but I'm just saying that there's a little bit of shining a light on that personality disorder or that behavioral disorder or that kind of mental disability or disorder, whatever it is, but not in a bad way. They're just saying, hey, look, we're not judging it. We're not saying this is a bad thing or a good thing. There are people out there who have multiple personalities. This guy is one of them, right? And you get to see, they're not glorifying it and they're not glamorizing it in one way or another, right? I think this is the problem I had with the Joker, which was to say they had kind of glamorized that mental issue that he had, right? And they made him a hero. And in this case where they're saying like, look, this isn't about making him a good guy or a bad guy. This is just who he is. Stephen Grant is just Stephen Grant. And as far as we can tell, he's an innocent bystander in all of this, right? Because it's really Mark Spector, his other personality, that is related to Khonshu somehow, that is this being that's got to do with, writing vengeance, for the lack of better words, right? This is where he's kind of like Batman.
So I have to say, after 2 episodes, I'm still a little bit in the dark in terms of, like you mentioned, okay, there's Stephen Grant, and which is his British self. Then there's Mark Spector, who seems to be the guy. Then there's Khonshu, that Mark Spector somehow, through Dark Knight, works for. I'm still a little bit in the dark in terms of who everyone is and how they're related, but I think that's working for me. It's not really hindering me in liking the show, right?
Right.
They're very slow in pulling back the curtain. I mean, episode 1, I mean, we kind of knew there was like some issues, right? But they were very slow in kind of revealing what that was all about. In episode 2, again, now they revealed a little bit more, but still didn't exactly explain how everything is going. And ordinarily, I would feel like, wow, this series is so slow, or they're hiding everything. I'm not sure what's going on here. But somehow they're making this work for me, and the slow burn is intriguing me, and I think that there is enough kind of development of Stephen Grant's character, right? The guy who works in the gift shop Batir, that I kind of got like behind his character, and I'm kind of like interested in what's going on here.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to the show, because it's also that you see a little bit of that also because every episode has some kind of action-y sequence that kind of gets you a little bit more hooked.
Yeah.
And it kind of drags you a little bit deeper into what the mystery is, right? Whether it's that sequence in the first episode where you're talking about where he meets Ethan Hawke's character for the first time, right?
Oh, I love his character,
Darrow.
Arthur. I love his character.
Darrow.
Yes.
And you see him do that daring escape. But what I thought was brilliant about that daring escape is we see none of the action, right? Because you see Stephen Grant take control over Mark Spector after Mark Spector has done all the cool things, right? Which is like shooting the guy out of the thing. You don't get to see any of that. You just see the after effects. I thought that was done brilliantly because you jump. It's kind of like a jump cut, right? Or a smash cut. Every few seconds you see him smashing to it. The camera cuts to a different sequence. All of a sudden he's holding a gun. All of a sudden he's like, you see a guy flying out of the back of the van. You don't actually see.
That's such good storytelling. I have to say.
And I think it's brilliant to do that, right?
Because I totally agree.
For someone who doesn't know anything about that story, episode 1 was all about saying, hey, you are, for all intents and purposes, just like Stephen Grant. You, the audience, you, the viewer, are like Stephen Grant. You also don't know what's going on. He also doesn't know what's going on. You can, of course, put some pieces together, but in this world, neither of you has any clue what's going on.
Yeah.
And they slowly build up to that towards the end of that first episode, where you see that he finally talks to Mark Spector through the mirrors. And I love how through reflection and through mirrors, you can see the relationship between Stephen Grant and Mark Spector right? And where you finally see that Mark Spector is the Moon Knight. He takes control. He like decimates that jackal creature that's attacking in the bathroom. I thought that was wonderful.
You are hitting it on the head, and I totally agree with you that good filmmaking, someone once told me that a good filmmaker, you don't have to show the door closing. You can just have the sound of the door being slammed. You don't have to show everything. That an audience is smart enough to make these small mental leaps. And I think you're right. In that chase scene on the side of the mountain in the truck, that you didn't have to see exactly what happened. You could just have these little jump cuts. And like you said, you kind of assumed or could understand what happened. I'm totally with you on that. I think it was amazing.
And it was brilliant because we, as audience members, and as people who have brains, we understand that Mark clearly, that Stephen clearly shot the guy out of the back of the van.
Yes.
That's why he's holding a gun, right?
Yes.
Duh. What we don't know, and again, like you said, we don't see that happening, but we understand that, right? It's the equivalent of hearing the door closing. What we don't understand is how is this mild-mannered shop clerk able to do that, right? And that's the mystery that we get to kind of slowly dig up, pun intended, throughout the course of this series, which I'm liking so far. I will say that this runs the risk of being, if the third episode doesn't fully, maybe not fully, but doesn't adequately open the door or the window, will say that this runs the risk of being, like the other Marvel shows, a bit too slow.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I also have to say, we're not sure who is the good guy or the bad guy yet. I mean, I guess we're expected to understand that Ethan Hawke's character is the bad guy, that Mark Spector, that Moon Knight, that Khonshu are the good guys. But again, the way that Ethan kind of presents his case, it's not really clear. Like, Ethan makes some pretty good points, you know?
Right. And again, this is what I like about his character so far, and I hope they maintain it, is that he maintains a level of nuance that elevates the character to just from being just an ordinary bad guy who's, mustachio twirling, I'm going to kill everyone, to someone who's got a little bit more of a vision, right? It's a little bit like what they did with Killmonger in Black Panther, a little bit of like what they did with Loki in Thor, which is to say they're giving you a potential villain who's not just out to do something for the sake of doing something, or like Thanos for that reason, right? So, and you start to see some clouds judging over your judgment on the basis that, he admits at the end of episode 2, he admits to Mark Spector, or not to Mark Spector, but Steven, that, hey, I was once Khonshu's avatar too, right? Which blew me. I just was not expecting that, right? And so he understands the voices in his head. He understands all that. He connected with Stephen Grant that way, right?
Yeah.
And then you also learn that Mark Spector was a bad guy mercenary. He did some really awful things. He executed people. And then you're just like, all of a sudden, the tables have turned, right? Now you're wondering, hey, who's the real good guy?
Did I back the wrong horse? Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, this is, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We understand that ultimately, at the end of the day, the guy whose title is on the screen card should be the good guy, not the villain, right?
Yeah.
But it casts enough doubt where you're just like, oh, there's got to be more to this.
Yeah.
So,
I thought when Ethan Hawke said, you wouldn't wait until weeds were already like killing the fruit in your garden to kill them, would you? That's a good point, But I thought that opening scene, I think it's so important how a new series opens, right? That first scene is just like so critical. In Halo, it was an action scene, kind of, right?
Right.
In Moon Knight, remember, it was Ethan Hawke kind of sitting at a table. We see him kind of like with this glass of water. Yeah, and he's kind of like,
oh yeah,
right?
What a great scene, though.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not sure what he's doing. Then he smashes it. Then he takes all the chips. He puts them in his sandals. He puts his sandals on. Like that scene was just so confusing, right? After every like very deliberate action, you were kind of like, well, what is he doing? What is this about? It was very slow. The music in the background, everything was like kind of anti-Marvel at that point. And then when he puts them in his shoes, and then he deliberately puts his shoes on, your mind is blown. You don't know what's going on. It has nothing to do with Moon Knight, but I thought it was such a good scene just to kind of like grab your attention at the beginning, like, whoa, this is really like uncomfortable. What is this crazy stuff?
Yeah. Oh, we didn't say it earlier, but definitely spoiler alert for the last 5 minutes and for the rest of this episode. But yes, I fully with you on that. I think that he presents himself as a very compelling villain, right?
Yeah.
So maybe let's do this. Why don't we do a recap? Episode 1 very quickly. We get introduced to Stephen Grant. You find out that he goes through all these like almost OCD like style steps before he goes to sleep, and after he wakes up, he checks the seal on his door. He checks the pile of sand around his bed. He's sure that something is going on in the middle of the night, but he doesn't know what.
Right.
He goes to work, and then he gets a date with one of his colleagues or something like that. I can't remember if it was a colleague, but yes. Anyway, he skips out on that date, and the reason he skips out on that date is because his alter ego, Mark Spector, has taken over his body, and he wakes up in the middle of a mission somewhere. He doesn't know where. And he's stolen something from Arthur Darrow.
A brooch.
Right? This scarab, this golden scarab brooch thing. And he takes that, and he has to escape with that thing, right? He meets Arthur Darrow. Arthur Darrow realizes that this is the guy that's stolen. He goes on this great chase sequence on this mountainside where he's in like an ice cream van. No, a cupcake van.
It was a cupcake truck.
Right. And, you know...
that's very Marvel, though, by the way. Don't you agree?
Hilarious.
Marvel
is just a small bit of humor.
Yeah. Marvel is so good at that.
Yeah, I agree. It cuts a lot of the tension by him being able to throw a cupcake and being like, what the hell, you know?
Yeah.
So he escapes, he gets out of that jam, he gets back to his home in London. He doesn't know what's going on, but he realizes there's something going on. So he starts digging into his own apartment. He finds that, there's maybe more to my night terrors than would appear. He gets confronted by Arthur in the museum at the end of the day. And he has to escape him. And when he escapes, he gets tracked down by this monstrous jackal character. Yeah. And he gives control back to Mark in the mirrors of the bathroom. Mark saves him.
I thought the end of episode 1, where you really see Dark Knight for the first time in his suit or robes, Moon Knight, sorry. Yeah. Was very powerful. I thought that was a great way to end that episode. I thought there was a lot of like cat and mouse intrigue, but I thought the way that ended was really powerful. Yeah. And I think
I like that they didn't hold back.
Yeah. And I think that was you could tell that MCU has its fingerprints all over this from my perspective, just because, as you said, they're so good at putting this juxtaposition, right? Between, like you said, a very serious fight or chase sequence in a cupcake van. The guy who is obviously has an alter ego, but he works in a gift shop and he's got all these trivial coworker problems, right? Like I think that Marvel is very good at interspersing this subtle like undertone of humor into serious situations by removing the gravity with these other like lighter elements.
Oh, and I like how he speaks and like he gets like his therapy sessions out with that living statue, the golden statue. Yeah. Right? That poor guy has to just sit there and listen to him the whole time. Yeah.
But I thought Oscar Isaac was a very compelling, he's not British. He was a very compelling kind of Dudley Moore, bumbling kind of British guy, right? Yeah, like I thought he played that very good where he kind of like mutters these little, Britishisms under his breath. And he makes these very, like he was leaving his flat one day and the guy's like selling the brushes, and he makes like that little comment like, oh, you're always in front of my door, but I don't mind it. Like I thought that he played that very, very subtle British humor extremely well.
Yeah. Yeah, that super introverted character, I think he's got it. He nailed it, right? Yeah. And then what happens in episode 2?
Episode 2, we pull away the curtain, right? We get introduced to Mark. We get introduced to Layla. Steven gets to meet Mark, right? And they kind of confront each other, if not face to face, alter ego to alter ego, right? And they're speaking to each other. And now the one takeaway was that it became a little bit more difficult for Mark to assume control of Steven's body, and Steven had to somehow like give up control. That was kind of the change, that Steven kind of thought, okay, I can do this myself, I'm not going to give control. And Mark was, basically saying, look, you're in over your head. Let me do this, but you have to give me control. I don't have the power to take it anymore.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because he gets the police come to his apartment while he's arguing with Layla, who we find out is his wife.
Yeah.
Right? Or Mark's wife or girlfriend. I can't remember if they specifically said wife.
Mm-hmm.
And they're having this cat and mouse discussion. At that point, I don't think she fully recognized or realized that he's, not the Mark Spector that she knows.
Right.
He thinks that I think she made an allusion to that this being somebody else's flat.
Yes.
As in like he was having an affair.
Yeah.
That kind of situation. They get arrested. She takes the scarab from him, unbeknownst to him. He gets arrested by the police, or who he thinks is the police, but it turns out that they're members of that cult that Arthur Darrow is actually running.
What's the name of the cult? What's the name of the cult? Do we know this?
I actually don't remember. I don't know if it was mentioned.
Is it a cult, or is he just basically letting anyone who wants to come up to him, be judged? If they're bad, or they're going to be bad, then they die. And if he judges them to be good, then they just agree that they're going to kind of live together in this vegan commune.
Right? I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Again, because I don't know the comics very well, I'm just going with what I see on camera, on screen.
Yeah.
I have to assume that it's got all the elements of a cult, right?
Yeah.
People who are willing to sacrifice themselves, people who do whatever he says, that kind of thing. It's got they've got their own compound. It's got all those elements, right? So that's why I think it's a proper cult. And then you see, he gets into not a fight, but an altercation. You get a little bit of exposition dump, right? You learn a little bit more about Mark Spector from the police officers as they're doing a rundown of this guy's background. Mm-hmm. And then you also learn more from Arthur Harrow about what they're doing, why it's important. He doesn't say why he wants the scarab, but he's spending his time trying to convince him to be a willing participant in all of this.
But I thought he wanted the scarab because the scarab was what pointed him to where Amit is.
That could be it. Again, that fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
I know that it was an important thing, and I know that he's doing Amit's work, right? By this prejudging, this Minority Report-esque style work.
Minority Report. So let me say this back, and you tell me if I've got this right. Arthur and his commune believe in this god or demagogue named Amit. And Amit's style is to basically kill people in advance of them doing bad stuff, like you said, right. Minority Report style, in order to prevent bad things from happening in the first place. Whereas Mark and Khonshu believe, hey, we should only take care of bad people after they've done the bad act. Before they've done the bad thing, they still have free will. They may not actually do the bad thing, and you shouldn't punish people just for thinking something. And then they kind of go into, and you shouldn't kill children and blah-de-blah-de-blah.
Exactly.
Like this.
Exactly. That's what I got from it as well.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's two discipline styles. It's just which one has a...
Yeah. One is before the fact, one is after the fact.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so he tries to escape. Layla shows up. They are able to escape. And I think that's when he then says, this is where you start to see Steven really try to gain control over his life, right? Yeah. Where he's like, okay, fine. You have these powers, which means I have these powers too, because we're one and the same. So I'm going to turn on the suit, right? And
what are the powers, by the way? Is he just like very strong? Like he kind of had like some nunchucks at one point. Right?
To be determined. Again, to be determined. I don't exactly know.
Yeah.
So I think this is where, where he falls out or gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And when he gets thrown out the window, you're like, oh, well, I thought he was going to turn into the Moon Knight that we know from the first episode. I thought he was going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to give control to Mark. But instead, he keeps control, but he turns into Moon Knight. But he turns into like this Dapper Dan version of the Moon Knight, which I really liked, by the way.
So Marvel. Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. Right?
Yeah.
Like this all white suit.
Yeah. 3-piece. It was a 3-piece. Yeah.
Right, and it looked really nice.
Did it have a
really
top hat?
cool.
No. It had the mask. It had the mask.
Just the mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a 3-piece suit with gloves, with a tie. Yeah.
It looked really funny, right? It looked really badass and funny, but he lands. And you see, Mark is making fun of him. He's like, "What are you wearing? That's not the suit." And he's like, "Well, you just said suit, and I thought this was good." And he's like, and this is again the Marvel formula.
Right.
They're kind of like quipping back and forth. He's talking about, "I don't care how good looking you are," because he's obviously thinks he's very good looking himself, right? He makes a funny comment or two. He's trying to defeat this monster. He punches the crap out of this monster and realizes, and even Mark was like, "Great punch." But then Mark was like, "Listen, now you need to give me control because now we're in public. And if I don't stop him now, he's going to hurt other people."
But hold on. I was a little bit fuzzy on that because it seemed that there's like this dog-like beast, right? No one else could see the dog-like beast though.
Exactly. It was invisible for some reason.
So how was it like able to but it was like causing dents to people's car and stuff, right?
Exactly, right? And even Layla was able to hit the thing while it was invisible. So it's that, I don't know what the mythos is. I don't know what the explanation will be, but apparently he can see things that are maybe more godly or more from the underworld.
Yeah.
And no one else can, right?
Yeah.
So in any case, then, he finally gives control to Mark. Mark runs along the rooftops of London, and I thought that was a good visual because you see the reflection of the moon.
That was cool.
You see all of that. The jackal beast chases him, and then he dives off the roof, grabs the jackal beast, and impales him on a spike on some building.
Mary Poppins style. Yeah.
And this is where things get interesting. He refuses to give control back to Stephen because he says, "I need to finish this." And we learn a little bit more, and we understand that the reason that Mark is the avatar of Khonshu is he made a deal with him, and this is apparently close to being like the last mission, and then he doesn't have to be the Moon Knight anymore.
We'll see.
To be determined, of course.
Yeah.
And then we end the episode with Mark waking up, not Stephen, waking up in a hotel room. And then he opens the windows, and lo and behold, where are we? Cairo.
Egypt.
Right? And we see the pyramids.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, okay, where are we watching this, by the way? What streaming service is this on? It's MCU.
Apple TV.
It's on Apple TV?
Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry. What am I talking about? Disney Plus.
It's Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because it's Marvel.
It's Marvel. That's correct.
So what do you give this right now? What's your score? Is this a mooch or is this a subscribe?
Right now it's a mooch.
Yeah, I agree.
Right now it's a mooch. That is to say, I'm unlike some of the other Marvel shows that we've seen so far. This has the potential to trend up.
Yeah.
Everything else after the first few episodes trended down for me so far.
But let me ask, I agree with your rating. I've got the same rating. I think this is mooch. I don't think it's worthy of subscribe. But why? I think we've been very positive in our praise for this show. We've mentioned a lot of super cool things. We like Oscar Isaac. What is the reason why this isn't a subscribe? What is missing from it? Is it more suit? Is it more action? Is it a better story? Is it more characters? I would say one of the problems, maybe to the extent it's a problem, but there's not a lot of characters that I've really been introduced to. I know Mark. I know Ethan's character, Arthur. That's it. Layla, a little bit. And then, of course, like there's the security guy at the museum. There's the other gift shop lady at the museum. But basically, this is just a 2-person show right now, right? Is that the problem?
For me, the problem isn't that. I actually think that's nice because you get these little exposition dumps that don't feel like that.
Yeah.
What I think the problem for me is not enough suit, not enough idea of who Moon Knight as a superhero is and what he's able or capabilities are, right?
Okay.
Like you asked that question, like what are his powers? Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I saw him grab that silver batarang that's in the shape of a moon from his chest. I saw him, leap across the rooftops of London. You see him do one strong punch, but really nothing that otherwise would indicate that he's a superhero.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that one thing. And the second thing is, so that's for me the main reason. And the second thing is that it's also, we're 2 episodes in, there's 4 more to go. It's only 6 episodes. I think it's I need to see a little bit more of where this story is going. I will say in terms of villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ethan Hawke is probably one of the more charismatic ones.
Yeah, so good. I have to say.
I think Marvel definitely has a villains problem. I think out of all of the movies, they've done some 20-odd movies, and I think I can only think of a handful of them that I really liked as villains, as bad guys. Everybody else has been very good, has been very middling to very bad.
Let's break that down. Who are the good villains in the Marvel Universe?
I think Killmonger was excellent.
Loki? Is Loki a villain? Used to be.
I think Loki in Thor 1 was also phenomenal.
Yeah.
I thought Thanos was excellent.
Yes. We're negative on the Spider-Man villains, right?
Oh, well, now that they're a part of the Spider-Man universe, I thought Green Goblin was very good in the first Spider-Man movie, and I thought Dr. Octopus by far the best Spider-Man villain in the second Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
But that's it, really. We haven't seen any other.
Did Iron Man have a good nemesis?
In both Iron Man 1 and 2, the bad guy was a bigger and different version of
Iron Man. Yeah.
It was Ironmonger in the first one with Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
And not Jeff Daniels.
It wasn't Jeff Daniels, but it was that bald guy.
I can't remember.
And the second one, it was the wrestler. What's his name?
Yes. The Russian character.
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
With the whips. Right, the electric whips. Yep. Yeah,
and so that they were terrible. The third Iron Man movie, by far was the weakest, in my opinion. Especially in terms of bad guys, I think they did a really bad job there with Guy Pearce and with.
Oh, I can't even remember.
The Mandarin, Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
And then who else have we seen? I think they're all, in general, I think they're all just terrible. I think we've named 3 of them.
Well, Winter Soldier, if we're looking at Marvel, right? Winter
Soldier was very good. Yeah, that's questionable. I thought he was okay, but he didn't really do anything. He was just he wasn't really the bad guy. He was just really the arm of the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
The main bad guy was Robert Redford.
Hydra, yeah.
That's my problem. Is I think in terms of Marvel movies, the bad guys are typically short-staffed or short-sticked.
Yeah,
they are really quite bad. But in this case, I think Ethan Hawke could be one of the best.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying he's going to be the best, but I think he could be one of the best. He's certainly the most compelling so far, or one of the more compelling ones so far.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see. I'd like to see where that goes with this, and if he turns out to be on the same path that he's on now, I have no qualms. I'm willing to go so far as to say that if the 3rd episode goes the way I'm hoping
hot take. Here comes a hot take.
Maybe not so hot, but
here it is.
I'm probably going to increase my recommendation from a mooch to a subscribe.
Based
on episode 3.
Based on the bad guy. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's where we are with Moon Knight. I'm really looking forward to it. I think, F. Murray Abraham, by the way, his voice as Khonshu is really, really good. And it's so funny because the last time we saw F. Murray Abraham was in...
Yeah, what have I seen him in?
With Mythic Quest.
Yes. What's his name in Mythic Quest? I didn't know that he was in Mythic Quest. Oh,
yeah,
no
he's the guy who writes all the mythology and the lore. In any case, I think he's very, very... The voice is excellent. It's really, really good. It's not like a huge part, I understand, but the voice sells it to me. I think they've done a really good job with that. So I'm hoping
CW Longbottom.
There you go.
CW Longbottom. Man, he was amazing in Mythic. Is Mythic Quest coming back for a third season?
I don't think so. I don't know, but I don't think so.
Too bad. CW backstory.
In episode 3, I'm hoping we get to see more of the Egyptian mythology. I'm hoping we get to see more of the religion and why they're searching for whatever they're searching for.
Yeah.
So that because right now we don't really know what the MacGuffin is, right? We had the scarab, but we don't really know what the end game is for Arthur Harrow. What is he looking for, and is he looking for?
He's looking for Amit. They're trying to get Amit back. We haven't been introduced to Amit, but Amit is apparently the foil to Khonshu, right?
Right. And what I'm saying, there has to be some way that happens, right? Whether it's like they recover an ark that he has to, kind of like in Indiana Jones, some kind of Ark of the Covenant style thing where they have to recover his tomb or his sarcophagus or something, right? There has to be something. I don't know what that is yet.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that I agree. I like the mythology aspect. I think this is something new, right? I mean, we've seen a little bit of this, which is Thor-like, right? Which is something that's not just supernatural. It's based in something that should have a little bit of reality, but I'm hoping that it's really well done and it doesn't turn into like the Mummy with all this like crazy swirling sand and something that we can't really follow. And I'm
two comments, two observations on that comment.
Yes.
One, the Mummy was a masterpiece. Brendan Fraser, amazing.
Okay.
I loved that movie.
That's a hot take.
But more importantly, I think that we're not going to see that because the director or one of the main directors of this series, Mohammed Diab, I think, he is an Egyptian guy, and he has railed on Hollywood for their absolutely terrible depictions of Egypt and Cairo.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He has absolutely railed on them. And he said he went out of his way to say, by the way, the depiction of Cairo and Egypt in Wonder Woman 84 was so bad, it did a disservice to all Egyptians.
What is his name? He's the director?
Yeah, Diab. D-I-A-B.
Oh, yeah, it is Mohammed Diab. Yeah, you're right.
So he has gone on record to say, I want to make sure that when we show Egypt and we show Cairo on screen, we want to do it authentically. We don't want to just do it the way that every American thinks that Egypt and Cairo looks like. It's not all sand. It's not all desert. It's not, pyramids 30 kilometers away from Cairo. I think, you and I know the pyramids, right across the pyramids, there's a McDonald's, right? It's in the city. It's not something that you have to go
it's in the city
miles and miles away from.
Yeah.
So he was very insistent when he got the job that he wanted to depict Egypt as is and be authentic and to do something that would make Egyptians proud, right? Which is fair enough. I fully understand that sentiment, right? So I think that's a very important reason, and I think that's the primary reason we're not going to see something like The Mummy, right? Which is this depiction of whirling dervishes and sandstorms and things like that. I don't think we're going to see any of that. I think we're going to see a real depiction of real Cairo and real Egypt, as well as of real Egyptian mythology, which, frankly speaking, we don't really see much of on screen, right?
Yeah,
we know a little bit about Greek and Roman mythology. We know a little bit about Norse mythology, but that's kind of it in terms of religious mythologies. Egyptian mythology, not very well represented, if at all, on screen, right? And most Asian mythologies, same way. So. So I'm hopeful that we get a lot more, we get a lot clearer picture of the mythology and of what the MacGuffin is going to be and how, and hopefully also more of the Moon Knight.
Well, we definitely need to see more Moon Knight, and we need to really see we really need to see the suit, which is a very cool suit, by the way. I have to say, it's not the 3-piece was nice, but his real thing with kind of the cape and the way that like it flows, I think is a very, very cool suit.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I want to see. I'm in two minds about it. I haven't decided if I really like it yet or not.
I think it's hard to see from the show, but when you look at like the still photos, or you look at like then like the clips from the show make the suit look very cool. But I agree, the way that the show is filmed, he's moving around quite fast, and it's hard to like really take it in. You understand the color and like some general like style about it, but not the details so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Let's absolutely see. I haven't decided if I'm in it or not, if I'm in with the suit or not, but I am definitely with Stephen Grant's version of the suit. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I really liked it.
So speaking of Disney Plus, when is Obi-Wan coming out?
So Obi-Wan comes out, if I remember correctly, in June.
Okay.
I think this show will finish up in May. By the time we're done, it'll probably be May because there's 4 episodes left and it's on a weekly basis. So sometime in May, I expect there to be a 1 to 3 week gap. And then I think either at the end of May or at the beginning of June, we're going to kick off with Obi-Wan, which again, as a quick reminder, is also when we're going to kick off with The Boys season 3.
Oh, wow. Amazon, The Boys with Amazon, Obi-Wan on Disney Plus. Okay. I think you and I will tend to give Obi-Wan a little bit of grade inflation. Just because. Whereas I think Moon Knight, as you mentioned, part of the reason that we both have it as a mooch and not a subscribe is I think because it's a new character for both of us. Like, I know you've heard of the comic books. I never even knew this was a guy until this came out. And that's why I even get the name wrong. I keep wanting to call him Dark Knight, which is Batman. But I'm like so confused by him because I never even heard of this thing before. So I agree that Marvel really dug deep into their IP of characters to pull him out. And I think that's a little bit why, his name is even taking some time to rub off on me. The show is very, very good. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But I think just because the character doesn't mean anything to me and I don't have that connection to it yet, I'm still at a mooch and not as a subscribe. Whereas I feel if Obi-Wan to me is probably like Halo, that I've got very high expectations. And after the first episode, I'll probably still like it no matter what. But then after that, it's going to have to kind of stand on its own merits.
Reality will set in for us. I think that's the thing. I think we will be more forgiving, but at the same time, we'll also be less forgiving for the same reason.
I mean,
which is to say, I'm happy to give them a grace period of 1 or 2 episodes to really find their feet.
But
tough. If by the third or
we
fourth,
are tough. Yeah.
No, but that's because that's how much we love Star Wars. But if by the 3rd or 4th episode Obi-Wan is still struggling, it's gonna get slated.
Yeah. I mean, I think actually, if we look back at Halo, not to continue to pile on Halo, we've done that plenty in our Halo episode, but that first episode of Halo, probably we even inflated that score, and we were more just enthusiastic about the idea. So like, it was pretty okay. The suit was great. It was not a bad episode. But probably if we'd watched that again, I think we'd say there was nothing compelling about this at all. Even the battle scene was probably a little bit weak. I think we'd even have a more negative view of that first episode. So I'm hoping Obi-Wan overcomes that based on all the other Star Wars, or I should say, the Lucas franchises, that I have high expectations only because everything else they've put out has been pretty high quality.
Perfect. So again, quick recap.
Yes.
My score for Moon Knight episodes 1 and 2 is a mooch.
Same for me.
The same for you.
Same for me.
And we will continue watching this.
Yes, we will.
It drops every Wednesday on Disney Plus.
Next week, we'll have another episode.
So next Monday, we'll give you a recap of episode 3.
That's right. But before then, we're going to review Morbius. You've already given me a spoiler alert by saying, go see this movie. Were those your words? It was something like that.
I just said I can't wait for you to watch it.
Okay. So I will see it in a few hours, and next episode we'll do a breakdown of Morbius.
Perfect. Until then.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, listeners. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.